Hola friends, welcome to the Medicine, Marriage, and Money YouTube channel, the only channel for physicians who want to achieve marital interdependence and financial freedom together. On this channel, you will learn how to show up as the best version of yourself so that you can love intentionally and build a more financially savvy relationship with your spouse. And I am your host, a physician mom, a doctor's wife, a Gottman leader, a certified life and marriage coach, Dr. Kate Mangona. Welcome. Bienvenidos. Sweet friends, and welcome to another Medicine, Marriage, and Money with yours truly, Dr. Kate Mangona. Today, we're going to be talking about the 3 top reasons why a man will leave the woman he loves. And it can happen vice versa too. But I'm going to speak from the woman's perspective here. So why a man will leave the woman he loves. And we could also consider these 3 top relationship killers. Okay, we know there's a lot of reasons why a man may leave the woman he loves. And these, from what I have discovered, from what I have read, from studying Gottman, from which is, decades of relationship research, from coaching physician couples, non-physician couples, from doing this work for years. These are the top 3 reasons why I have found a man will leave a woman he loves. Why is this helpful? Well, because awareness is key. And if you want to start fixing these things in your relationship now, you can prevent relationship havoc. So, number 1, something else besides the couple, something got in between her and him. Something got in between the 2 lovers. Okay. Something became more of a priority than him and her being in love. And that doesn't mean we blame that something else. Let me give you an example. This can happen with hobbies that one spouse does not agree with. Say his hobby is cars or sailboating or doing something, car racing or sailboating, something that she does not agree with and does not like. Maybe she thinks it's unsafe. Maybe she thinks it takes time and attention away from her, away from where she thinks he should be spending his time with the kids at home, fixing the leaky faucet, who knows, right? But something has gotten in between him and her. This could be your mother-in-law. This could be your father-in-law. This could be their actual main career, their job. Maybe she thinks he spends too many hours at work and he doesn't come home until 10 or 11 p.m. And she's not understanding of that. She's not accepting of that. And while I say she's not accepting of that, right, the reason he ends up leaving is because she becomes hard. She becomes angry. She becomes resentful. She becomes irritated. And then when he comes home, actually, he's scared. He's scared to come home because he knows she's going to lash out. He knows he's going to get in trouble. He knows that she's going to do something wrong or do something wrong or not have done something which makes it wrong. So it's like, lose. So he comes home and the household, she's always upset and she's always angry. And doesn't feel good to come home to that when you're pursuing a passion or a hobby or your career. Or if you just happen to have a mother-in-law, if you happen to have a mother or a father that she doesn't get along with. Or maybe, you're the one who has that mother or father that he doesn't get along with, but you've decided to take sides. So you're taking your mother or your father's side over your spouse. And I'm not saying you should take sides. We're bringing awareness that this is the top number 1 reason why he leaves. Okay, is because something else got in the way. Children. I have 3 beautiful children. I love my children. I love babies. I want you to have hundreds of babies. Collectively, everybody, I would love for everybody to have hundreds and thousands of babies. when we prioritize our babies and our children above our spouse, meaning all of our time and our attention go to them first. What do they say on the airplane? This is so cliche. You're probably tired of hearing it. So good. Listen to it. Put on your own oxygen mask first. And that applies to your relationship. Take care of your relationship first. It doesn't mean neglect your children. That doesn't mean abandon your children. They're not going to starve. No one who listens to this podcast, you guys, your kids aren't going to be running around naked outside in 30-degree weather for hours on end and, getting frostbite. Your kids aren't going to be starving. Your kids aren't going to have an adult or somebody of age to watch them appropriately. I know you guys. Your kids are going to be okay. If you prioritize your relationship, make sure you create time for him, you block out time first, your kids, you will still take care of them. You will still love them. And guess what? You're going to become the queen of time blocking, and you're going to have him scheduled into your calendar every week. And your kids, I bet you your kids are probably scheduled into your calendar already 10 times this week. Whether you're taking them to soccer, to school, making their lunch, picking up snacks for their class, scheduling their birthday party, planning their holiday party. Your kids are probably, just go now, unless you're driving, and count how many times do I have my kids scheduled in my calendar? Okay, what about my spouse? The top number, that's reason number one. Okay, number two. You, meaning the queen, you became his parent. You became his coach. You became his therapist. What do all these things have in common? If you think about having a therapist or a coach or a parent, what do they all kind of do? They all kind of direct you and guide you towards something, right? Maybe the therapist listens to you and tells you, and just like lets you vent and pour out, but doesn't really show you that love and that affection. Maybe your parents constantly telling you what to do. Make sure you put your gloves on, make sure you do the dishes. But I'm going to give you allowance, but if maybe they threaten you a little bit, you don't get your allowance if you don't do this, or, if you go outside without a jacket, you're going to get sick. Okay, parenting, over parenting, over coaching. You're constantly seeing your students, your clients' blind spot, your athletes' blind spot, and you're showing them. You're being maybe a little bit hard on them, but every single day, every single minute, when they just want that woman that they fell in love with, right? Like a therapist, a coach, a parent, they all have expectations, and they're within reason. They're within their, I would say, positions. We have expectations for our children, for our clients, for our athletes, for our people who come in and walk in our office and sit on our sofa. We expect therapist expects the client's going to pay them and show up on time. Okay. As a spouse, if you are treating your man or woman like they're your child or client, they are missing the reason they fell in love with you. That softness, that playfulness, that compassion, that safe area to come home and just be themselves, be vulnerable without somebody getting upset at them or saying, no, before you can't cry. Like before you have to stay in your car if you want to cry. Right? What do we tell our children sometimes? If you want to cry, that's okay, but you need to cry in your room. Or you can't cry. Some people say you can't cry at all. But if you want to cry, let's cry over here. We're putting rules on somebody that we should be at our same level. And when we're thinking about our spouse and rolling our eyes, oh my gosh, who does that? Who thinks about their spouse and talks to their best friend or talks to their mom and rolls their eyes? What's that doing? That's making you the superior. You're like feeding that kind of superiority into the relationship. Okay. And then what does your spouse lose in return? What does he lose when you become their superior? They lose that respect. Because when you're thinking of when you're thinking in that kind of superior mindset, that contemptuous mindset, you're kind of looking down on them. And I'm not saying a parent or a coach necessarily looks down on you. It's a different level. This is contemptuous. And this is when you're not really respecting them the way you would want to be respected, or they would want to be respected. Okay. You're also not being vulnerable, because when you're the parent or when you're the coach or the client, you don't always share all of your mistakes, all of your errors. Now, sometimes we do as parents, especially new age, modern, gentle parents, we do. But not like everything. You're not being completely vulnerable. If you're the therapist, you're not there crying the whole session while your client is crying too. You have to be a little bit stronger. Okay, so I'm not saying I want you to cry the whole afternoon or whole evening with your spouse, but they want you to be you, and so they can be themselves. So remain open, remain vulnerable, remain respectful. Allow them to have that freedom to be themselves without you wanting to parent them. Tell them to pick up their dirty socks, telling them that they lowered the dishwasher wrong, asking them to go fill up the tires and get Susie's guitar from the shop and go and grab, Rob from band practice, and ordering them around constantly. The minute they sit down and they get on their phone on the sofa, but you have 10 things that you want them to do before they can relax. You become their parent, number 2, or coach or therapist. Okay, so number 3. Third reason why a man leaves the woman he loves. Number 3, you do not schedule time for him anymore. You don't make time for him anymore. You no longer have Saturday or Friday date nights. Remember when we lived apart and we were first dating, when we were first courting, and when we got ready and we did our hair and we did our makeup if we did makeup, maybe we did our nails if we do nails, maybe you shaved your legs, maybe you put some perfume on. You dolled yourself up. That's what we did. And then we planned to spend that whole evening with them. And we usually didn't say, oh, I'm only going to spend 7 to 8 with you. And then I have my next date with my girlfriends or this. Sometimes we do that. We don't even think about it. But we planned we're going to spend the whole night with them because we don't live with them. Maybe we're dating, maybe we're long distance. So we've reserved this time for our spouse. So if you are, and I did talk about this in my last point. So point number 1, something else got in between you and him. Number 2, you became his parent, coach, or client. Number 3, you're not scheduling time for them anymore. You are too busy. Your career, your children, your friends, your hobbies, your passions, they come first. And he comes number 101. So schedule him into your calendar, align your calendars, and maybe it's going to be up to you, right? To get his work calendar, your calendar, the kids' calendars, and schedule that time. It might be. And it depends on you whether you want to put forth the effort to pump love back into this relationship. And as I'm concluding those top 3 relationship killers, or the reasons why a man will leave his woman, I want to just share 2 pieces of advice that I had from last week. One of my friends / clients sent me this text last week, and she was so excited because she had listened to my last week's episode where I talked about pumping more compassion, becoming compassionate when he becomes angry. And he had sent this angry text to her, not really directed at her, but directed at somebody else, another family member. And instead of responding as his parent, or instead of responding as How dare you? She responded with understanding. She repeated a little bit of it back, a little bit of the scenario. Wow, that must be tough. And some validation, understanding, validation, and then a question. I wonder how so-and-so would do it. You know? And then the whole cycle changed. His tone went from angry. He received her compassion, and he responded with this kind of calm, oh man, I'm being understood. I'm being received. Yeah. I'm safe. I'm seen. I'm free. You know, like I'm free of anybody trying to control me. And it looks like I'm being respected, even though I got a little angry. Maybe I said something I really didn't want to say or shouldn't have said, but I've been seen and I've been receiving the compassion. Just want to share that. And then in my own relationship, I made a kind of, I asked my husband this question this week. I said, we're talking about skiing in Michigan versus Colorado. And we have a lot of family in Michigan. I have a lot of family in Colorado. I'm like, well, what is the real difference? I said to my husband, what is the real difference between skiing in Colorado and Michigan anyway? Obviously, I'm not a skier. I've never skied in my life. And I've been to Michigan and Colorado. I love them both. Okay, I know one has mountains, one has more hills. So I said that. And Victor's jaw dropped. He's like, what? And he responded in this tone I didn't appreciate, right? But then I reflected back on my question. My question was a little bit, okay, yeah, I guess it was kind of a silly question, but I really just wanted to hear what his perspective was. I was like really wondering. I was curious, and I just asked things. And so instead of taking his tone, because I could have, it could be the same tone, y'all, and you could receive it as angry, as playful, as silly, as obnoxious, as disrespectful, the same tone. You could take people could take those as different things. So instead of choosing to make it mean disrespect, which it didn't necessarily mean coming out of his mouth, in a past life, I could have received that as disrespect. Instead of that, I decided to start poking him. I just started poking him, like, fake tickling him, poking him in his underarms. We were out in public. And then he was just like spazzing because he's so ticklish and so it just turned into like this playful, ticklish laughter fight, which wasn't really a fight. It was just like like a pillow fight type of thing. So I responded with playfulness instead of with anger or ferociousness, which I could have, right? To something super benign. So I want to give you that this week. And just as examples of how to respond with compassion, with playfulness. And then also, please, 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 let's just review these 3 relationship killers real quick. Please don't let anything get in the way between you and your spouse. Nothing. Not a person, not an idea, not a career, not a child. It's not the child's fault. Okay, if you ever would think that your children got in the way of you and your man, you and your hubby, you and your honey, it's not the child's fault. It's the adult's fault. We have the awareness. We have the tools. We have the resources. Use it. Use this resource. Okay. Number 2, don't become his parent. Don't be the parent. Don't be the coach. Don't be the therapist. Hire somebody else for that. Or just know that the universe and God is going to take care of that. And you don't have to. Okay. Allow the respect, the freedom, the open, the vulnerability. And number 3, schedule some time on the calendar. We all know it's a busy time of the year. We just finished Thanksgiving. Christmas is just around the corner. Schedule time now. Once a week, every single week, once a day, 10 minutes a day, 3 hours a week. So we went through all 3 things. And I just want to add, when you don't spend time, so the last point, right? The third top relationship killer, not scheduling time in your calendar for your man or your hubby, for your love, for whoever it is. When you don't do that, you end up growing apart, right? When you end up letting other things get in between you and your partner, whether that's your mother-in-law or your job or your career, or maybe it's something financial, maybe it's a money you don't agree on, maybe it's parenting, you tend to grow apart because you refuse to make time to see each other's points of view. You could make time in your calendar to see somebody else about it, like a coach or a therapist. You could schedule sessions for you guys to talk together with a mediator there so you could see outside perspectives. So without scheduling time for each other, whether that's intimate time, time cuddling, time going to the movies, time supporting him in his hobbies and his interests, whether that's just showing up and doing some sort of cheerleading just to show you that you care, and vice versa, him doing it for you, you're going to grow apart. It's inevitable. When we're not putting energy into a certain thing in our house, think about your bedroom, your kitchen. Right? When you're not putting energy into keeping the dishes done, into keeping the laundry maintained, into making the bed, what happens? Disasters. Things start to fall apart. That's what happens in your relationship when you do not schedule the time. That's why it's number 3. First of all, nothing can get in between you. Second of all, you cannot change to become their parent or somebody that they didn't really want to marry, like their mom or their therapist or their own coach. You cannot do that. And thirdly, you have to schedule time, okay, so that you can grow together, so that you can work through your differences. If there are conflicts, if there are things that are making it uncomfortable for you to want to schedule time together, it's easier for you to be apart. You've become numb to those feelings, right? Maybe of a little bit of anxiety, which is normal. Let's just put that in our purse and carry it with us if we experience that on a day-to-day basis. It's okay to have a little bit of fear and anxiety when you begin going on those dates again, when you feel like you really don't know who he or they are anymore. That's normal. Let's start growing together, guys. Without growth together, you're not going to want or have that intimacy anymore. Without intimacy, things get boring. Okay, they do. Then you just become friends, then you become acquaintances, and then you become people that you don't even really care about. Okay, you need that intimacy in your relationship. And that has a whole plethora of definitions. Without that intimacy, he's not going to be able to be that prince, that king, or that heir, whatever that is, right? We all have this inside of us, and that's a whole other story, right? Little princess inside of us, little prince, the king inside of him. We all have that. Even though we're in 2023, almost 2024, this is in the 1950s. We were born female, feminine. Some of us were born more masculine. Regardless of gender identity or sexual orientation, we have that princess or prince inside of us. And if you're listening to this, I'm sure you understand. So please, number 1, do not let anything get in the way of you and your love. And if something happens between you and your mother-in-law or your father-in-law or your own mother or father, figure out a way to resolve that. Whether it's in your own mind, whether it's them, whether it's a conversation you need to have with your spouse, or maybe it's your sister-in-law or brother-in-law. But figure out a way to resolve it. Or just understand it. It might be one of those unsolvable problems, one of those things that doesn't have a fix. It doesn't have a concrete resolution, but it might have an emotional resolution of you accepting that feeling. Number 2, don't parent him. Don't parent her. Don't parent your love. Don't coach them either. That's why I'm here. And number 3, schedule time for the most important, intimate person in your life, your lover. Schedule time, grow together, enhance your intimacy. And with that, I am going to let you know of an opportunity I have coming up in October of 2024. This would make a beautiful holiday present, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. This would make a beautiful Christmas present for your loved one is, hey, honey, we're going to Maui. We're staying at the Four Seasons. We're going in October, and I'm doing this because I love you and I am investing in our marriage. We are going to do fun couples coaching activities. They're going to be playful. They're going to have intimacy challenges. You're on board. I know when I say there's going to be intimacy enhancing challenges, you're on board. There's going to be chances to go surfing, for me to hula dance in front of you, to learn hula dancing, express my feminine side. We're going to bike down a mountain through a cloud, the most magical experience I've ever had in my life. And we're going to go with two amazingly powerful relationship coaches, Kate Mangona and Alexandra Stockwell, who is, you guys have met her before. She's been on this show before, and she will be again. She is the host of the Intimate Marriage podcast and the author of Uncompromising Intimacy, because in no marriage should you ever have to compromise, ever. So if you would like the link, reach out to me, email me. We are working on our official page so that you can sign up. I just have early bird pricing link for those who want to secure their spot and sign up now. This will be a very intimate retreat. It will not have more couples than I have fingers. Okay, and that's how many spots we have right now. So come secure your spot, and I will see you in Maui or next week or both. So much love to you and your spouse. If you are finding the concepts I teach in these episodes useful and want more in-depth and personalized support for your relationship, consider this your invitation to join me in creating the most connected and intimate relationship with your spouse that you could dream of. Go to www.medicinemarriageandmoney.com right now and download my 18-page medical marriage survival guide and workbook at no cost to you. I also have a 6-day marriage challenge, which goes over the 6 predictors of divorce at no cost to you. These have been known to decrease fighting, rumination, and grudges between you and your loved one. If you want to take it a step farther, really enhance the joy and connection in the most intimate relationship in your life, sign up for my 8-week Making Marriage Work program today at medicinemarriageandmoney.com. Thanks for leaving us a stellar review, subscribing, and sharing with your friends on social media. You have the power to improve someone else's life and marriage simply by sharing this episode. Much love to you and your spouse. You're exactly where you need to be in this moment. Adios, my friends. The content of this episode is not intended to be a substitute for professional, medical, or financial advice. The opinions provided on this episode are those of myself or the invited guest alone. They do not represent the opinions of any particular institution. Always seek the advice of your physician or financial advisor with any questions you may have of a medical condition or financial plan. This is for your entertainment only.